Joshua Oron. According to that same report, Transmara, Butali, Naitiri, and Olepito sugar mills would have adequate cane supply. It does not add up that in a vast sugar belt where millers are free to buy cane anywhere, some factories in the same belt would be cane sufficient, while others are cane deficient. In this case, factories in Luoland and Luyaland were the ones judged to have insufficient cane and directed to close. Instructively, the Sugar Directorate's letter did not indicate whether a rapid assessment had been conducted to confirm the status of the earlier findings of the cane census report. And let me add here that in this decree, none of the public millers has been allowed to continue milling. The few factories which have been allowed to continue milling on account of having sufficient cane are private mills. One or two private mills which have been stopped from milling are actually owned by people who are at the center of these sugar imports. So you can see the game being played here. No, I can go on, and I've got a full dose there in my office. Yes, which if I'm called upon, I will be willing to share with the public in due course. Because it's a very, very, very serious and vicious cartel that we're dealing with here. Okay? Now, AFA has no mandate whatsoever under the law, and you can check, to close sugar factories over alleged cane shortage. Its involvement in this matter is therefore merely a ploy to create shortage of sugar to enable sugar barons in Kenya Kwanza to import the product. The Luo and Luya economies are being sacrificed to benefit Kenya Kwanza sugar dealers. We will obviously not accept this. AFA must be made to answer a few questions. 1. How much of the duty-free sugar that had been allocated earlier was received into the country? 2. Why did the prices keep escalating despite the intervention of the duty-free sugar? In fact, as we speak, the prices are continuing to shoot on a daily basis. 3. What happens to the workers and farmers who depend on the mills during this very, very long closure? I would actually call it unprecedented closure because it has never happened in the history of this country, or at least for as long as I've been alive, that the government has ordered the closure of sugar mills on account of lack of cane. And yet sugar mills are commercial entities. Their management are able to determine whether they're supposed to close or not. It's not for the government to direct them to close. 4. How does AFA regulate against flooding of imports at the expense of local production? 5. What strategies has AFA put in place to ensure adequate cane supply upon the resumption of the mills? We also take note that while other cash crops like coffee and tea are equally struggling, the factories dealing in them have not been targeted for closure. Instead, these sectors, unlike sugar, are being targeted for state-sponsored financing and reforms. In sugar, today is about to privatization. Tomorrow, when they wake up, it is now what, leasing. We don't know what happened for the day after tomorrow. So there's a total incoherence in policy insofar as the sugar sector is concerned. Do you want to privatize those mills? Or do you want to lease them? Come out clearly and tell us and give us one clear policy direction. Stop fumbling. Okay? The targeting of Luo and Luya economies is going on at a time various leaders from both the Luo and Luya communities have taken every opportunity to shout about being in and working with the Kenya Kwanza government while their own communities are suffering. Their loud silence on this matter speaks for itself. You'll never hear them speak about these issues, I can tell you. You will never hear them talk about denial of their own people of subsidized fertilizer. They'll never speak out because they are eating. We continue calling on leaders from Luo and Luya communities in Kenya Kwanza to refuse to endorse the targeting, marginalization, and the destruction of their people under their watch. In the meantime, we demand for the immediate resumption of milling by all millers in Nyanza and Western Kenya to avoid a state-enabled suffering of the communities in the sugar belt. AFA must with immediate effect put in place and announce mechanisms to facilitate the resumption of milling by all millers in Nyanza and Western Kenya. AFA must focus on fast-tracking of the sugar bill, which is currently awaiting consideration by the National Assembly. It must consequently embark on establishing the Kenya Sugar Board through an open, transparent, and consultative process. The board, once established, must then move with speed to develop and regulate the sugar industry for the benefit of farmers and all other stakeholders. Our communities stand ready to do everything to demand respect and protect their sources of livelihoods as taxpayers in Kenya. That's the end of the statement. I will be sharing it with you. And I also have copies of the letter that was written by the Sugar Directorate. He can say a word if he deems so.
I just want to add that I come from a sugar belt county, brought up in the sugar belt region. In my history coming from that area, I've never seen this unprecedented closure of the sugar factories. The sugar factories have got their own routine. They've always had when they close for maintenance, never had when the government order the closure of sugar factories. At a time like now when life is very difficult for the families. We have farmers with sugar cane in the farms that are going to rot because the government has closed the factories. This is not acceptable, and I would encourage the Kenya Kwanza government to reverse that closure with immediate effect so the Kenyans coming from these regions can live and live comfortably. The sugar cost of sugar has gone up, while the farmers, the sugar cane price that is paid to farmers has remained constant. This is not acceptable, and it looks like the Kenya Kwanza have got something under the table that they are trying to do, and from where I see it, it looks like the government is trying to encourage the importation of illegal sugar to kill the sugar industries that we already have. This will not be acceptable, and I would encourage the government to reverse that immediately so that the farmers can take their sugar cane to the factories and the people who are employed can start enjoying their employment and get what is due to them. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, guys. Asanteni sana.